Once again, good morning, everyone. We'll just get started right away. We had a bit of a technical issue, but I think that we are good. So let me welcome everyone to the 6th installment of the Code Blue series. Code Blue was established as an initiative of the Blue Economy Academy to reflect monthly on what is happening within Nigeria's blue economy and marine space. But beyond that, we established Code Blue as a convening space for those who have a very serious interest in the blue economy, but are not hardcore maritime practitioners, players, or industry experts. In other words, it is premised on the philosophy that as a nation with 853 kilometers of coastline, the sea affects us all. And so the blue economy is set up in such a way as to create a channeling from various sectors towards the sea. My name is Uba Ogesian. I had the privilege of working as head of strategy and communications at the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency for 3 years. And I'm always proud to say that I had a front row seat in drafting our blue economy concept over 4 years ago. And we've seen that materialize today into the blue economy and marine ministry. So without wasting so much time, I'll just go quickly around the room and I'll ask each of us to just introduce yourself and what your interest is as it relates to the blue economy. So I'll start with Cynthia Alo. Just unmute yourself. You have 30 seconds. Introduce yourself quickly, and then we'll go straight into the business of the day.
Good morning, everyone. I am Cynthia Alo. I work with Vanguard Newspaper, so I'm here as a journalist to cover the event. Yeah.
All right, Cynthia, are you on the maritime beat or you're just...
Yes, I'm on the...
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Cynthia. I have Kayode Ajayoba. Kayode, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, Mr. Obon. Good morning, everyone. My name is Captain Kayode Ajayoba. I'm a mariner, and I've been in the maritime practice for about 40 years or something like that, thereabout. So I've worked both at sea, offshore, upstream, and on the shipping area as well. So I am diverse in the maritime sector. So I'm happy to be here.
Wow, Captain, it's nice to have you. I'm always excited whenever I meet a master mariner, and it's a reminder of the debt of gratitude we owe people like you for the amount of sacrifice you put in. And I think it goes to the heart of truly understanding what the blue economy represents, because it's the blue economy that takes the message of the maritime space and extends it into the regular lives that we live. Because we very often take this for granted. I can only imagine cumulatively the number of years, Captain, you have spent out at sea in the very open and having to have lived that life just to ensure that people like us can continue to enjoy the basic necessities of life, including the essentials, from our drugs to the clothes that we wear, the food that we eat, especially given that as a nation, over 80%, if not 90%, and beyond that of what we consume comes to us by sea. And we are so heavily import dependent. So, Captain, we owe you a debt of gratitude, and we're glad that you've joined us. I'd like to know, Captain, if this is the first time you're joining us on this series.
Not the first time. I think this would be the second one. I've joined. I remember I've joined previously. I think this will be the second one.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And thanks for the compliment.
Captain, it is much more than a compliment. It is acknowledgement and respect for the debt that we owe to men like you and all of our seafarers.
Thank you so much.
And so thank you very much. And it appears you've been more of a silent observer the times you've attended or Code Blue session. So today we'll probably bring you to the front line, to the forefront. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you after I make the presentation for today. It would be nice to hear from you, your thoughts, especially as one who has sailed, who has grappled with the functional dimension to how life works at sea, and then as one who now administers and is seeing it from the other perspective. How can we make the blue economy sensible, practicable, mainstream to the average Nigerian out there? And that's really what the Blue Economy Academy is seeking to do. We're seeking, we envision a Nigeria that prospers by waters, but most importantly, we are looking at a nation of people who can finally come to terms with the understanding of its relationship with its waters. And hopefully you can join in that conversation. Once again, thank you, Captain. I see here Saudat Salami. Saudat, would you like to give us a quick introduction? Let's get to know who you are. And after Saudat, we'll go to Okeke. Okeke is here. We'll also acknowledge Prince Nathaniel, and I think there's one more person, Mfonobong, as well. So Saudat, you have the floor, 30 seconds.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I am Saudat Salami. I'm a ship chandler. I'm here because I want to look at other opportunities in the blue economy. A few years ago, I contributed to the Blue Economy, a policy document in the US about looking for opportunities for women in this sector, and that has also increased my interest in the sector. So I stepped away for about 2 years in the ship chandling. So now I want to get back fully into it and see all the opportunities that are available for me to take advantage of. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Saudat. I know Saudat and I go very way back. In fact, there's a photograph I saw, and I saw you in that picture of a seminar I did many years ago. I'll probably share that with you, and for you to see how far we've come. And it's good that somehow we're coming full circle, and to know that you actually have been in ship chandling, and there's so much more that you can do. And I think that this will allow us to network, and I'm speaking now broadly to the entire house, to see how do we simplify the concept of the blue economy into the functional dimensions of the businesses that we are all doing presently. How can we create a network? How can we create some kind of association, some kind of consolidation of our collective interests, as varied as they might seem, and say, here is what the blue economy offers us, and how do we make the most of it? Because the blue economy is the next goal as far as Nigeria is concerned. In fact, it has always been our goal, but we have ignored it and allowed more of the major hardcore players to drive the maritime side of it. But then again, maritime is essentially one major block of the blue economy as we continue to understand it. So nice to have you, Saudat. As I move on to Okeke, just quickly introduce yourself. After that, we'll take Prince Nathaniel.
Good morning, all. My name is Mr. Okeke. I was formerly in the Nigerian Navy. After my retirement, I now lecture at Certified Institute of Shipping in Magma Badagry. That's what I'm doing for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Because I don't know your rank, so I'm unable to address you formally. Thank you very much for the work that you've done as well, having served us at sea, ensuring that we enjoy the very best in terms of maritime security. And we appreciate the work that you have done. And I'm sure that you are brimming with a lot of insights on blue justice, on governance, and of course, maritime security. And it would be nice to hear your views, your take in terms of outlook as we explore what 2026 has to offer. How have we fared in terms of our security and our safety, and where are we going? There's a lot to talk about. And I'm also very pleased in terms of the kind of relationship that has existed between agencies like NIMASA and the Navy. And most of the friends that I have today are in the Nigerian Navy. And one of our industry fellows here at the Blue Economy Academy is retired Rear Admiral Solomon Onyilo Agada. Admiral Agada took the session on maritime security. Security is prosperity. Prosperity is security. That was 2 months ago. And he's one of our advisors on the Blue Economy Academy. So let's have Prince. Once again, thank you very much, Okeke, as I invite Prince Nathaniel. Kindly introduce yourself, and then we will take on Mfonobong, and we can have Priscilla, and quickly I'll go into what we have for today.
Nigeria. I'm SDG advocate generally, but I'm with Action Aid Nigeria here in Akwa Ibom State.
All right, thank you very much. You said you're an SDG advocate. Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Which of the SDGs? I hope they are SDGs that are contiguous to the blue economy.
Generally, I advocate for SDG, but I'm majored in action and climate change.
Okay,
I've
climate
done so many
change
projects.
is part of it. Then, of course, there is the SDG. I think it's SDG 13 or 14, which has to do with life at sea. So you might want to also pay attention to that. Life below water, I beg your pardon. So you might want to also give that some attention. Well, there are quite a number of SDGs that link up into the blue economy anyway. Thank you very much, Prince Nathaniel. And Mfonobong, are you there? 30 seconds.
Good morning. Mfonobong is from Maritime Academy of Nigeria, Horror. I'm a lecturer here. I handle marine pollution courses, environmental toxicology. My research interest is on environmental toxicology with specialty in marine toxicology and biotechnology. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Mfonobong. And that is so important. I think that is one area where, when you look at the blue economy, we have not really impressed the world in terms of how we've handled our environment, especially our marine environment. Clearly, I mean, in Lagos here, where I live and work, and especially in the Ikoyi area, in the marina area, every time you just drive across and see what's happening to our waters, you know a lot of work is necessary. A lot of work is necessary. And I want to say, Mfonobong, you have your work cut out for you, and there's need for greater collaboration. There's need for even ocean literacy programs beyond the curriculum dimensions that we have in our various institutions. There's need for a variety of tailored ocean literacy programs across various communities based on their uniqueness coastally along our coastlines. So I hope that is something that you are possibly contemplating, and we can collaborate at the Blue Economy Academy to explore some of those. Interestingly, we had a young man that visited us here yesterday, currently in his final year, studying sustainability at Bayero University, Kano. And he got a mini grant from National Geographic to conduct awareness along the lagoon areas here in Lagos. He came in here with some flyers just to intimate us of some of the work that he's doing along those lines. So if that's an undergraduate, heavily invested in the blue economy, taking steps at his level, yet to come into the full space, I think it says a lot in terms of the amount of work that we have cut out for us, especially with regards to our environment, marine environment. So thank you very much for that. I hope I've not missed out anyone. I've seen that we have Ken Juko. Ken Juko, kindly introduce yourself. You have 30 seconds. And I promise you, after Ken Juko, I hope I've not missed out anyone. I will go straight into my presentation and we can have our conversation. You have 30 seconds.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm a journalist and I'm expecting to learn so much from today's session. I didn't expect to speak, so thank you for the honor and privilege, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ken Jupo. I know Ken Jupo personally from my days working as a special advisor on strategy and communication at NIMASA. And I think I've watched the young man evolve, and he has grown now into a big boy. So well done, Ken. I see all that you do on LinkedIn. I follow quietly and observe you have come of age and you've earned it. You're proven to be you're proven to become an emerging voice in the maritime space. So well done, and academically as well. You've invested heavily in yourself. So I want to give you your flowers and commendation and to continue to wish you the very best. So thank you everyone for coming on board. And what I want to do is just spend the next 15 minutes to talk a bit about the Blue Economy Academy and the 10 key inclusion buckets and report on what has happened in the maritime, blue economy, and marine space as it relates to Nigeria in the last 1.5 months. That's what Code Blue is about. And I would like to quickly put up one of our slides. Let's see if this can come up. Kindly let me know if this is visible. Please, if you can see my slides, let me know that it is visible, and I will continue from there.
Yeah,
I can see your slides now.
Can you see the Nigeria's economy, the 10 key inclusion buckets? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So when I started, I talked about the Blue Economy Academy. It just has one mission: to see a Nigeria that prospers by its waters or through its waters. It's as simple as that. There are those who argue that Nigeria is an oil-producing nation. That's true. There are those who also argue that Nigeria is a mineral resource-rich nation. That's true. But I think that when we look at it critically, in terms of our natural endowment, for us at the Blue Economy Academy, our argument is very simple. Nigeria really should be seeing itself as a blue nation, or you might say a maritime nation. Because even the oil that we talk about has as its major enabling factor our seas. And so when we set up the Blue Economy Academy, the goal is to bring awareness to this reality. Please, I'd appeal to everyone to kindly mute. There is some activity coming from one of us out there. So the argument that we make is that we are a blue nation based on our maritime endowments. We have 853 kilometers of coastline from Lagos here to Cross River State, and the possibilities are endless from there. So in championing this cause and in a bid to mainstream the conversation about the blue economy. And that's really where the vision and the passion lies for us. We developed what we call the 10 key inclusion buckets. We're very deliberate by calling it key inclusion bucket because the blue economy ought to be as inclusive as possible. When you look at oil and gas, we know clearly, economists have told us that oil and gas is an enclave sector because you and I will find it difficult to point to people that are close to us who work in oil and gas. This is a sector that can invest $10 billion today and create employment for at best 10,000 people. But the blue economy can invest $1 billion and create employment for hundreds of thousands of individuals in terms of opportunities. And that's what the blue economy is about anyway. The sustainable use of our ocean resources to create jobs, sustain livelihoods, advance economic growth, and of course, ensure that it is done in a very responsible manner. So that is what we are driving, inclusivity. The sea affects us all. And so if we are all meant to prosper through our waters, regardless of your field of endeavor, I can assure you there is a river running from what you do into the blue economy. There is a river, there is a dimension that streams from what you're doing presently into the blue economy. We just need to establish that linkage, and we just need to demystify it. We're not trying to be simplistic here. No, we're trying to simplify and make this as inclusive as possible. We're not saying that specialists in areas such as maritime security, specialists in core areas such as port development, shipping processes, supply chain management, and the rest do not have their space. They have their space. But we're saying if it is to become truly blue economy, definitely it has got to be as inclusive as possible. And that is why at the Blue Economy Academy, we talk about these 10 inclusion buckets. So our vision at the Blue Economy Academy is eliminating sea blindness. It goes to the heart of what I've already mentioned. How can we make this inclusive? Because whether we like it or not, Nigeria is a sea blind nation. We've seen that all across. And when we say sea blind, we're also talking to those who make policies, those who make the laws. A lot of them do not truly fully understand the ramification of what we stand to benefit by harnessing our ocean resources. That's what we mean by being sea blind. We mean that there is this significant disinterest that turns our attention away from what is going on with our waters, while we focus on oil and the quick gains it gives to us, which economists refer to as Dutch disease. But when we look at our oceans, not just our oceans, we look at our rivers, we look at our lakes, we look at all of our water bodies, our lagoons, they represent in totality what the blue economy stands for. Anything that happens on the water, beneath the water, within the water, above the water, and contiguous, adjacent to the waters. That is what the blue economy is about. So we cannot achieve this without a collective interest.
It makes sense.
And we cannot achieve this without each and every one of us seeing that our sectors, wherever we currently operate in primarily, has some form of link to what is going on in the seas. So we have this key inclusion buckets to include blue commerce. Of course, that deals with our ports, our logistics, all that happens around our regional hubs. there's a lot of specialty shipping and the rest. That's one bucket. Then there's blue governance, where we deal with matters of the rule of law at sea. What happens when it comes to maritime security? What happens in ensuring there's justice at sea? These are the things. So if you're a lawyer, you don't have to wait to think that the sea has a space for you. If you're a governance-centric person, you don't have to wait to see that. Because there are many institutions that operate within this space and there's need for governance. Then there is blue climate, and I'm glad my sister Mfondobong, I think that was you, from Maritime Academy of Nigeria, Oron. What happens within our marine ecosystem? How do we protect it? How do we ensure that they remain resilient so that they continue to sustain both our economic interest and life within that space? And of course, the climate impact, what happens there? So already these first four are key inclusion buckets. Let's look at others. We have 10 of them. There is blue talent. For those who work in HR, it doesn't matter whether you're currently working in a bank right now, as long as you are an HR practitioner, there is talent to be developed, skilled talent for the maritime workforce. And there are other categories of talent that need to fit into this marine environment and the blue economy in general. So HR thinking, HR thinkers, HR advocates can find space to play here. We must begin to extend our tentacles into this area as well. Then blue bounty refers to matters dealing with or bordering with fisheries and aquaculture. We've seen a lot of aquaculture activity take place outside of direct involvement with our seas and our waters. There are many people that are doing fish farming in their homes right now, but they need to have an understanding of what sustainability is all about and what the blue economy is all about, because a lot of what you're doing right now is just pure commerce. Then we have blue cities. All right, I think something happened. I got cut off. I hope I'm back now.
Yes, sir. I can hear you now, sir.
All right, can you hear me? Sorry about that technology. All right, let me get my slide back up. Sorry about that. Let's see. Where's my slides? All right, I think we're back up. Okay. Sorry, I don't know where I stopped before I went off. If anyone can just remind me. Okay. Okay.
Bounty.
Okay, I talked about blue bounty, which is really at the heart of it is fisheries and all of the aquatic goodness within our waters that we can actually harness economically while creating employment and ensuring there's food security. Then we also have blue ventures. So part of what we're doing here at the Blue Economy Academy is encouraging startups that are maritime based, because most times one of the things I discovered during my time working in the Nimasa was that there was the perception that before you can come into the maritime space, it is hugely capital intensive. Yes, the outlay is very significant, especially when it comes to owning ships, acquiring vessels, operating them, and all of those major port-centric activities. However, We have Saudat Salami here that mentioned she was once a ship chandler. There are so many other activities, so many other startup opportunities that we can all play into as far as SME are concerned. So we've got to begin to think very passionately about various ventures we can create that can tap into the seas and the benefits, whether directly or even or indirectly. So that's part of what we are doing currently at the Blue Economy Academy. And for each of these key inclusion buckets, we have working groups. And that leads me to that of Blue Cities. Now, one of the things we had last year was a partnership with FIABC. FIABC is the Federation of International Real Estate Practitioners, the Nigerian chapter. And we're working towards an MOU that will allow members of FIABC to join the Blue Economy Academy with certain benefits, and then create a working group as it relates to real estate development along the way. I think I'm back again. So I was talking about what we're doing presently with FIABC in terms of partnering. That is a sector of professionals that we are now partnering with, real estate professionals. So let me give you a scenario. In October, we paid a visit to the Nigerian Navy, the headquarters in Abuja. And during that visit, we had myself, we had representation from FIABC, and a couple of other professionals. And one of the things that we discussed was FIABC and their members that are into real estate are exploring development of real estate along the Nigerian coast. And they are looking forward to meeting governors, the governors of the 8 littoral states. And one of the requests was, when we start this meeting with the governors, we want the Nigerian Navy to be part of these meetings. Why? Because we want security to be a key staple. We want security to be on the table as we start these conversations. We have partners internationally who are interested in investing in real estate development along the coast. So, for instance, if we go to visit the governor of Ondo State, can we persuade the governor of Ondo State to open up developmental fronts or real estate development fronts close enough to the coast so that real estate developers can come in and develop? If we can do that, can we have a role for the Nigerian Navy from the very beginning? Not after the development, we start to have security crisis or harassment. Then we begin to look for the Navy to come in to rescue us as a knight in shining armor. And we all agreed that that was a more strategic way to partner. So private sector working with the public institutions, with government, and then realizing the blue economy ideals. That is as it relates to blue cities. So that's a case in point that we are touting here at the Blue Economy Academy. It's not something that we're planning to do. It's something that we have started to do tangibly. And it's because the real estate practitioners in FIABC saw that clearly. And that's why they invited me to deliver their keynote last year, to say, now, explain the blue economy very well to us, and let's see how it links to our work as real estate practitioners and as real estate developers. And it's the kind of connection we want to establish across sectors, with SMEs, with HR practitioners when it comes to blue talent, and much more. Then in the area of innovation, and that's where we talk about Blue Nexus, where we're talking about digital tools and AI now coming into the fore I expect that a lot of our young people should begin to think of how to apply their areas of interest in terms of technology, how to link it to the blue economy. It has to start very early. Many young people don't seem to be interested in the seas or don't seem to have any interest in our waters. We have to create that awareness. And that's why we've developed a program called Blue for You. And we have some young people working around that to see how can we put this narrative very simply within that space for people to understand. I like what one of us in the maritime stakeholder, the maritime space is doing. She's a stakeholder really. She's taking this message to secondary school students through our Ocean Ambassadors program. That's what she's doing. Creating forums for students to debate, creating competitions at that level just to create early awareness. And then we see how that goes into the future. So summarily, this is where I'd like to leave this conversation at the moment and then switch quickly to the presentation of what has happened in the last 30 to 45 days in Nigeria's blue economy space. And after that, we'll open the floor to get contributions, suggestions, questions, and then we take this discussion and this group forward after this event and try to interact a little bit more. I think that at the Blue Economy Academy, we've not done that very well, especially last year, taking off. And I'm expecting that we will reach out a lot more personally to everyone that shows up at these meetings and invite you much more intimately into what we're doing. One of the things that we've done is to set up a studio and register the Blue Economy TV and have it trademarked, but that TV channel is yet to start. We're looking forward to having an event where the TV channel will be formally launched, focused only on the blue economy. It's called Blue Economy TV. I think there's already a website. The website is already up. You could look it up. Everything we're going to be doing on that TV channel is about the blue economy as we try to mainstream the conversation around the blue economy. So that's that. Let me, at this point, switch quickly to other presentation on what has happened in the blue space in the last the last 1.5 months. Bring up the next slide. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay. Please confirm that this slide is visible.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, Nigeria's Blue Economy Intelligence. This is Code Blue. And of course, Code Blue is essentially every month is Nigeria's ocean, monthly ocean intelligence brief. So from December 2025 to January 2026. So I'm going to do a quick run through and then we can open up the floor for some discussion. So under blue commerce, we're talking about port performance surge. We're talking here about the NPA reporting major increase in export-laden containers and higher total cargo throughput. So clearly, we're doing a lot of volume in terms of trade activity. There's trade momentum, there's productivity, and we, according to the NPA, we are exporting more. And that's good. It can only help the status of our foreign exchange. That's that from the Nigerian Ports Authority. I'm more than happy for the journalists amongst us here. When we get to that point, they can shed more light. But the most important thing on this platform is how does that cascade practically to non-core maritime practitioners? That is our interest here on Code Blue and at the Blue Economy Academy. Of course, there's increased activity in terms of port modernization and partnership. The federal government is pushing for reforms in a bid to modernize our ports and upgrade our maritime corridors as economic growth levers. And let's be clear, you cannot have blue economy without very robust, modernized, up-to-date ports. You can't. And we see that more states are getting licenses or receiving licenses from the federal government to build ports. Ondo State is one of them. My state too, Akwa Ibom, my native state. I tell people that I'm more of a Lagosian. I was born and I've lived all my life here in Lagos. So most times I really feel awkward just saying my state being Akwa Ibom. Yes, it is, because by name and by birth, I am a BBO. I'm from Akwa Ibom and I speak the language. But by existence, I am Lagosian. So the blue economy allows us to have that kind of conversation. So we're seeing that more and more activities are going on in this regards. More states are pushing for licenses from the federal government to establish ports. And I will tell you, we can never have enough. Given our population of what, over 240 million, and then of course, given all of the resources that we have, raw mineral resources that would require exports, and given that our economy is expanding and most of what we're producing needs to be shipped out. So yes, there is need for more reforms. There is need to open up that space. And then we have Nigeria signed an agreement with Abu Dhabi's AD Ports Group for collaboration in ports, logistics, and digital trade infrastructure. So yes, for hardcore practitioners, technical players, this is some good news, and this is something worth reporting that happened over the period. Now, in terms of Blue Bounty, fisheries expansion strategy, we see a national emphasis here. Official briefings reinforced fisheries and aquaculture as top entry points for growth through public and private investment. There's a lot going on here, and I don't think we have yet to fully map all of the activities going on with regards to fisheries in Nigeria. There is a lot of IUU activity going on in our fishing space. By IUU, we're talking about illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing activities going on. So clearly there's some work there. We're glad that there is emphasis on the part of government nationally on this, but more needs to be done so that we can fully map all of the players, all of the operators, and all of the activities, and then have a proper measure that we can conclusively say, this is what we are producing, this is what is going on. Artisanal fishing activity, what is going on? Are we accounting for those groups as well as the industrial fishermen and women or fishing operators going on in the space? So there's more to be done in that area. And then we have this 10-year roadmap, a national policy that includes fisheries improvement and surveillance direction, framing export readiness, and reduce import dependence. Clearly, we're still importing in this space. And for us at the Blue Economy Academy, at the end of the day, when we finish our Code Blue, we send our communiques out to state actors to note, and that's our own contribution to also encourage by way of advocacy for actions to be taken. But we must commend the government. A lot is going on, especially when we look at the last quarter of 2025. Then, of course, financial support. We have the ministry engaged a financial institution to push for single-digit interest loans for fishermen, tying productivity to fighting IUU fishing. Offshore energy and green finance under Blue Power. So here we have strategic investments. Nigeria approved targeted incentives for Shell's Bonga Southwest Deepwater Project, pushing for foreign investment and reinforcing offshore as strategic for national revenue and local content. So we're seeing what is going on here. National Climate Change Fund as well, and Climate Investment Platform unveiled to mobilize capital for low emission and climate resilient infrastructure. This is good news for those who are playing deeply. This is also another hardcore technical area. I wish we have one or two technical people that can break this down. Remember, the blue economy embraces all. We are dealing inclusivity here. So this is not just hardcore maritime. So if there are players here, we'll be more than happy to have you share your thoughts in a manner that makes it inclusive. Under Blue Cities, we have Coastal Urban Challenge. And yes, this is a major challenge for us right now. Whether we like it or not, it has been in the news. So the politics aside, the human rights issues and all the noise going on about this, and they are legitimate noise. So I'm not using the word noise in a disparaging manner, or let me say all of the conversations going on about this. Some issues are in court, a lot is going on. But we must discuss this from a coastal resilience standpoint and from a Blue City standpoint. That is where we take our own bearing as Blue Economy Academy, spotlighting what is going on in Makoko. Global reporting drew attention to Lagos waterfront demolitions and displacement, raising questions about urban planning and water adaptive city logic. Then there's climate risk. Erosion pressure along Nigeria's coastline drives urgency around resilient planning and governance for coastal settlements. We need to take these things very seriously in terms of what is happening along our coast and how we're developing our coast. 2 days ago, my wife and I were going for an event, and she was driving, and I was taking a look. We're moving from Ikoyi to Ikeja. And I looked from Third Mainland Bridge. I noticed that the level of the sea has risen. If you're on the bridge driving, you'll notice in terms of the relationship between your being on that bridge and the state of the sea shows that the sea level has risen. It has risen. And you can see a lot of activities going on from dredging, and we're beginning to see that buildings, infrastructure, we're beginning to see that a lot of developments are coming closer and closer to the bridge compared to the way it was years back. We need to have these conversations. Something is changing environmentally. We need to have the conversations. Is it sustainable? Shouldn't we be concerned? What are the climate risks? Lots of reclamation of land going on. What are the risk implications? So that's as far as Blue Cities goes, and I hope that we can continue to push for this. The Blue Economy Academy is still a very young organization. We're barely a year in existence, so we need all of the partnership and engagement as possible to enable us put these ideas together and continue to drive them into the attention of those who matter, so that actions where necessary can be taken early enough to prevent us from having crisis. Blue Capital, some of the things that have happened under Blue Capital, there's been investment attraction going on, and we have a pipeline of those. One, there's some courtship going on with the Danish authority, where our Minister of Marine and Blue Economy has engaged Danish stakeholders, and the minister has been pitching Nigeria's marine and blue economy as investable, anchored on reforms and security improvement. So our security has improved, no doubt. Our waters have become safer than ever. In historical terms, 3 going to 4 years now, this is going to be the 4th year where we are not having any incident of major threat in our waters. So the minister is very right to sell that to investors, to say this is a safe haven now. The threat in the past of sea attacks, sea robbery, piracy have been significantly dealt with, thanks to the collaboration between NIMASA and the Nigerian Navy and a host of other stakeholders, including international partners. Not forgetting as well the Deep Blue project. So the minister is right, and the minister is right to go for this encouraging investment, because we cannot do it alone as a nation. Then, of course, we have port investment to refer to. We've already mentioned the AD Ports MOU to open up capital attraction door for technical support and infrastructure investments. The third in the pipeline is the announcement, is the Green Finance announcement that positions Nigeria for blended finance flows, touching coastal resilience and clean infrastructure. So for our friends who are into finance, take blue capital seriously, especially if you're practicing development finance. Take it seriously and please begin to engage at that level. We also look at governance, blue governance, governance milestone. Congratulations. This is a time to truly celebrate Nigeria. Nigeria is back on the International Maritime Organization Council, at least category C. We fought for this for over 14 years, and kudos to the current minister and the current DG and the current team at the NIMASA and the ministry for pulling this off. It took quite some doing, and we're proud that Nigeria is back there. What we are advocating now is let's make it count for Nigeria. Let's make sure we are able to maximize value from it, meaning that at least where they discuss maritime issues, blue economy issues at the global level, Nigeria will be there, our voice will be heard, and we can protect our interests on a stronger note. So that is some good news to report, some good progress. Again, all of this is tied to the progress that have come before. And so we must not forget those who in the last 4 to 6 years made investments to ensure that our waters became safe, and everyone played a role in this. This is not the success or the achievement of one individual or one entity. It is collective and cumulative. It is collective and cumulative, and it shows if there's consistency in policy implementation, a good pattern exchange, and there's continuity, there's nothing we cannot achieve in this space and as a nation. And that is what we can report in terms of governance. It shows that our national policy on marine and blue economy is beginning to yield results, and it remains the umbrella framework that's referenced across reforms and sector directions for us to make progress. So that's some good news. And then Navy and security messaging help to reinforce this. And here we are, some success for us in this area. Well, under Blue Nexus, multi-sector, whole of government coordination, we can report here that the ministry has launched an enterprise content management system to strengthen transparency and internal efficiency. So what the ministry is doing is creating accountability frameworks and, of course, deploying technology in a way that can ensure that it delivers, and it is held accountable as an entity. So this is also some good news to report. The slides will be available and will be shared with the team and with members on this platform, and we can actually continue to study it and keep it with us as reference. Climate resilience as an imperative, erosion pressure, reporting documented coastal surges and climate risk burden, keeping resilience as a non-negotiable theme. I think this is very important. What has happened in Lagos is something we need to take very seriously. The Makoko development borders also on blue climate as much as it borders on blue cities. So you can see that these 10 key inclusion buckets have a way of interconnecting and interlinking. Under Blue Talent, what have we to report? Well, maritime skills development is going on, and so we can report that the Maritime Academy has published the 2026 Maritime Safety and Security Courses calendar through specialized seafarers training centers. So this is very important. We will not be able to accomplish our blue economy potential without qualitative manpower, skilled manpower. So this, for those of us who are warming up, getting to know about the blue economy, it is very important that we take interest, even if it is just short courses, 2-3 day courses, 1 week courses. Invest in them, invest in yourself to learn more so that you can appreciate the entire space even better, and it will guide you towards situating your business interests or your competency interests effectively, appropriately, and as seamlessly as possible. Standard compliance, we have NIMASA that has continued issuing operational marine notices, lots of them. If you go to the NIMASA website, you will find that a lot goes on. And I'll encourage every one of us, please, Google NIMASA every week as much as possible, because NIMASA is such an arrowhead institution as far as the blue economy is concerned. Now, I'm not saying others are not important, and I'm not saying this because NIMASA is my #1 marine or maritime constituency. I work there, I serve there. I'm saying it because, yes, NIMASA bears administrative oversight as far as our waters are concerned. Globally, NIMASA will be the first institution of government that the IMO under the United Nations will call upon if anything is going on in our space. So it's important that we keep tabs with NIMASA, the Nigerian Ports Authority, their website, the Nigerian Shippers Council, their websites, quite a number of others that we will list out. We have them listed on our website as well to continue to engage with, to keep tabs on. And then under skills framework, we have a federal messaging calling for marine and blue economy skills and job creation to address manpower bottleneck. Yes, the truth is we do not have all of the manpower that we need to actualize even the 10-year blue and marine national policy for the nation. That is 2025 to 2035. We don't have it. We've already shared a copy of that after our July Code Blue event. If you do require a copy of that document, please just drop your name, and you can drop your WhatsApp contact, and we'll ensure that we share that with you and get it across to you after this session. Well, this is for me the one we've all been waiting for. Blue Ventures, the CVFF launch. Finally, it is dawning on us. We're finally breaking the logjam. We will only celebrate when we see a presentation of the first check, symbolically and literally, either by the minister or by the president, to say yes, after nearly 2 decades, if not more, of accumulating the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund to help indigenous shipping and indigenous players own vessels and then ply our waters we are beginning to see some significant progress. The launch of the digital portal, that portal has gone live. So if you're interested in shipping, or you have an uncle, a relative, a friend, or a consortium, and this is a good time to form consortiums, because shipping is not something you go into alone. I tell you, all of us on this platform can come together and say, you know what? Let's float a shipping company that will go into vessel-related business. Because there's a lot of cargo that must be carried, cargo that must be freighted. Nigeria is exporting crude. That is cargo. That is massive tonnage. Nigeria is importing. When we import and it gets to our major ports, say Tinkan, or it gets to Apapa port, for it to reach the hinterlands, it must go through transshipment using local vessels. It's like, put it this way in aviation terms. Imagine if we had British Airways. Imagine if we had British Airways, London Heathrow to Lagos. And then we had British Airways now flying those who have arrived Lagos who need to further travel to Abuja as their final destination. Imagine if there was a British Airways running the local routes. That would kill our local airlines. There would be no Air Peace. There would be no Ibom Air. There would be no Aero. There would be no Value Jets. There would be no Rano Air and the rest. No Max Air. What would that amount to? Meaning that Nigerians, a lot of young Nigerians, Nigerian pilots, Nigerian air hostesses, cabin crew, Nigerian flight engineers would not have jobs. So the CVFF is meant to protect indigenous participation and grow our blue economy from within. So we commend the minister, we commend the ministry, we commend the government for taking this step. Now a portal has been created, but we will not celebrate until if an individual or an organization comes out to say, we've collected the check. That includes NIMASA funding 50% of the total amount for whatever vessel they intend to purchase, the banks providing 35% of the amount, because they are the custodians, they are the PLIs, the primary lending institutions, and then the individual or company, Nigerian, the indigenous player providing 15%. And we're told that this facility is tenured for 8 years. I would recommend that it should go over 10 to 15 years. We're told that it is at a rate of 8%. That is a start, but we can do better, because when you travel to Europe, they do 4%. They do up to 15 to 20 years. So we are still at a disadvantage, and we need to push. But at least we've taken the first step. I believe we can begin now to fight for all of these other adjustments to come in. Because if we have indigenous shippers, our younger ones, especially the youths who live along the creeks, most of whom became militants and most of whom constitute security threats, can be trained to man ships. Some of them can be cooks on board the ships. Some of them can be oilers on board the ships, engineers on board the ships, nurses on board the ships. A ship is a community in and of its own. So this is a good first step, and we commend the government for finally doing it. And by the way, it is law. The CVFF is law, it's a Cabotage Act. We are only implementing the law. And what it means is that international ship owners who ply our waters to deliver equipment to Shell offshore will begin to reduce, because they enjoy waivers to do that. We can begin to end the era of waivers and allow a Nigerian owned vessel, an indigenous vessel boarded by at least 20 Nigerians or 20 indigenes who will earn to ferry that vessel, to ferry that equipment offshore to Shell or to any IOC that is drilling, to deploy food, to ferry food and supplies. That is where chandlers like Saudat come in. And that is where the growth will lie, through the indigenous approach to shipping. So I'll quickly say to everyone on this call, please keep your eyes on this. Go to that portal, try it out, track what is going on, keep your eyes on it. And then let's encourage those that we know who have the means. Some of us have friends, loved ones who have money and don't know what to do with that money. Shipping is long-term, it is sustainable, it is viable. And I believe in our next meeting, one of our next meeting, I will try and bring in a ship operator who can give us a breakdown in terms of how this works functionally and how money can be made. Because in the final analysis, we have to make money. We have to do business. And so if you're an HR practitioner, you begin to think of, how can I recruit? How do I go into this space and position myself as a blue HR specialist? So that those who function in that space can reach out to you. That's the beauty of all of this. So the digital portal has gone live. The government has clarified ship owners can access vessel loans at stated interest rates. So we are positioning local capacity as important targets. And then this will drive indigenous growth. This, for me, is good news, but we cannot celebrate yet until we have the first companies to receive those checks. And please, at the Blue Economy Academy, we are also brokers. We broker connections, we broker engagements, we broker relationships as far as blue opportunities are concerned. And I want to tell you, there are so many possibilities here. And I want us to continue this conversation and strengthen this blue network as we move along. So I think with this, my work is done in terms of presentation. I would now leave the floor open. Confidence is building. NIMASA and the Ministry communications have pushed reforms, security improvement, and returns narrative position Nigeria's marine sector as ready for serious investment. I think 2026 is going to be the year. Kudos to NIMASA, my former home and still my constituency. Well done, guys. Keep the good work going, and kudos to the ministry, kudos to NPA and a lot of all these agencies working, but it is not enough. We are going to keep pushing. We're going to keep reaching out. We're going to keep holding your feet to the fire. Let's do more. The CVFF is not just a low-hanging fruit, it's an unpicked fruit. If you go to YouTube, you would see an interview I granted on Channels TV about 2.5 months ago on their Business Morning program, where I talked about the CVFF being not just a low-hanging fruit, but an unpicked fruit. So we all have to keep lending our voices to this. All of us. It is our country, it is our economy, it is in our collective interest, and then we should all get involved. So for me, despite being the dean of the School of Eloquence, where I've done work for over 20 years, I have a very strong interest and passion. Not just passion, but a concrete stake in the blue economy. Because having spent 3 years on the front line, having the front row seats, doing strategy and communication, that has awakened me to say, Ubong, you cannot just finish serving in the NIMASA and then go to sleep and say bye-bye, bid farewell. You are now a stakeholder. Given what you now know, given where you've been, meetings you sat in, tasks that you carried out, you must use your educational capacity to broker learning and exposure and engagement and consultancies and partnerships to drive this. We can all play in this. So we have these 10 key inclusion buckets. 2026, we are now in the IMO. And then, of course, we have 2 billion worth of funds to be accessed. And ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends, my friends in this Blue Quest, this is where I can finally say to you that the strategic outlook is that there's momentum that is building through port performance, policy framework, international partnerships, signaling strength or strengthening of the Blue Economy Foundation. So let's get involved so that when the story of the success of the Blue Economy is told, we can say we were on the very ground floor when it started. And we can actually be part of those who will reap the benefits. This is the best time to come in. Come in whichever way you possibly can. Even if you're an activist, come in as a blue activist and begin to take an interest in blue governance. Yes, that is one area. You can speak for dwellers along the coastal communities. There are so many things you can do. Now, there are critical gaps as we look at the strategic, as we examine the strategic outlook, urban planning contradictions, Lagos. This is the conversation we need to have, we need to look at. I will invite a member of this forum, Mr. Emmanuel Oluwadamilare is the special advisor to the governor of Lagos State on the blue economy. He delivered the lecture in November on what Lagos State is doing. We're going to invite him to come and talk about what's happening so that we can have ample clarifications. If he's willing to come up, we can have an emergency code blue session strictly for that, and we'll send the message all across for all to attend. So there's urban planning contradictions, there's climate resilience, execution, and skills development. These remain priority areas for action. And then, of course, in terms of strategic outlook, this is the final bit. There's investment readiness issues, governance reforms, financing mechanisms, and stakeholder engagement. These position Nigeria for capital mobilization. My dear friends, there's so much to this blue economy. Where will we even start? But we must start from somewhere. And that is why we have these 10 inclusion buckets. So please, let's all get involved. And this is where I will end my report and say the outlook is positive. The outlook is imbued with a lot of momentum. Let us seize the tide while it serves, because there is a tide in the affairs of men. Let me quote what Brutus said in his work on Julius Caesar. I hope I put that right for those of us who are classic experts. So at this point, my presentation is done on the pulse check of our blue economy, and I will open the floor for responses, for questions. You can raise your hand and I will call on you for responses, for questions, or even for contributions. I will try to keep it as brief and as direct as possible. The floor is open. All right. All right, Ken Jukwo. All right. Ken, please, go ahead. Tell us.
Thank you very much.
Tell us.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. The outlook is really beautiful for the industry. And thank you for, besides encouraging us and celebrating what has been achieved, you also stressed that a lot more is yet to be done. And I like the angle that you gave to us about the CVFF, because we've seen several layers of promises and similar achievements in the past, saying why this portal launch is beautiful and is like the closest step we have had, that until we see the checks rolling out, which will mean ship owners are better strengthened to acquire vessels, that will play after, that will improve Nigeria's shipping sector. Until we see those checks coming out, we really don't have much to celebrate. I also want to re-emphasize what you said beautifully about having successfully gained entry into the IMO Governing Council. But we shouldn't just go and relax and say it's an opportunity to send someone to go and enjoy tea and enjoy Nigerian representation, but to actually outline the things that we need. We have several needs in the maritime sector for the country. There are two of them that come to mind every time I think about how we are faring in the sector. One of them is the IMO whitelist that we are not on, as it affects training. And a lot of experts that have been to Maritime Academy of Nigeria and several other institutions say that that is one of the best by way of equipment they have there. Yet we have people go there and the certificates are not at par with some other countries. So we need to be able to maximize that our relationship. Then probably we can play the big role in the sub-region, where we have this challenge of extra war risk insurance, and then we have a 3 to 4 year no significant challenge. So we should be able to lead the discussion to having a crucial position on the Governing Council. We should be able to lead the discussion as to why those charges should be reviewed downward. If at all they should still remain, should be grossly reviewed downward, so that it reflects the progress we have made in regards to addressing the challenge of piracy and threat. So it's actually a beautiful time. Lekki Deep Sea Port was able to achieve.
Don't lock it, just put the box.
Thank you. It's also a good time for port operations too. Lastly, I wanted to say Lekki Deep Sea Port has achieved 50% operational capacity. So we are also hopeful that this year they'll probably edge towards 70, 80%, or even 100%. And then we'll see more progress in that light. Thank you so much, sir. This was really an eye-opener and an enjoyable outlook. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ken. Really appreciate those words, and you're very, very spot on. There's an article I'm writing. It's titled "CBF: Seeing is Believing." It's not that it's not meant to be sarcastic. It's meant to, as we've said, that we commend the steps taken, but celebration can only come after we see the disbursement. When indigenous operators say, yes, I've successfully secured $1.5 million, for instance, and within the next 6 months, I will have a vessel in Nigeria that deals with haulage or that deals with wet cargo. Whatever it is, it's going to be. So I agree with you. It's some progress. At least let's take what we can get and continue to push. It's not a time to rest on our oars. It's good to hear that the Lekki Deep Sea Port has achieved 50%. That is quite significant, given that it's a very young port, and that is what celebrating really. And who is to say that that will not notch up to 75% by the end of this year? There is a very serious and aggressive push by them, and you can see that it has become an inspiration for other ports to begin, or for other parts of the country to begin to think of developing their own deep sea ports. Right, thank you very much for that, Ken. Any other hands raised? Any questions, any clarification you might like for us to make from the outlook, from the presentation? Or is there anything you'd like to see during the subsequent Code Blue that can attend to your interests and to your needs as it relates to the blue economy? This would be a good time to share so that we factor that in. We want the Code Blue to actually be as functional, as applicational, as valuable as possible. Thank you very much, Pius, for the applause. I appreciate that. But please, if there are areas where you'd like us to pay attention to, that would be good. We'll be more than happy to get in the right person who can come talk about it and give us a roadmap as to how we can access and harness. Okay, so it doesn't seem to be, there doesn't seem to be anyone raising a hand. Okay, that's fine. Oh, okay, that's fine. So in the absence of that, the absence of any further comments, I think this would be a good time to say thank you to everyone for coming, for making out the time. And please feel free. I would very much appreciate that we have everybody's contact. I hope that everybody that's on this platform was contacted directly via WhatsApp, at least. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. I see that OKK has raised his hand. All right, I'll just call you Admiral. OKK. That's what I call my good friend, Admiral Lagada. So, sir, please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon once more. Thank you for the presentation and for all the vital information you have given to us, sir. I have a very serious concern with regards to lack of available vessels for our maritime graduate cadets to have their sea time training after graduation. Because this sea time training is very, very vital for them so that they will have practical experiences of what they have studied in the maritime schools, academy, and universities. Without sea time, how can they serve on board? My question and concern is, what is the current situation now in terms of solution, either from the private sector or from the government? Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you very much. And that is such a very important concern. It was a major concern during the time I served at NIMASA as well. And at that time, I know that the option, we had quite a lot of young cadets who had to go do their sea time on board foreign vessels. At that time, we also had scenarios where there were, should I say, contractors or business people who came up with business propositions to say, all right, NIMASA, you have a lot of cadets, and so we can provide vessel, sea time. We can provide a vessel where they can have their sea time and the necessary training and what have you. But let us be honest with ourselves. We don't have vessels at the indigenous level. We really do not have that capacity. If we did, we would not be having this concern and we would not be having this conversation. We don't. If you remember, there was a time the former minister, Rotimi Amechi, made a statement. Yes, it was a statement that was not well received. It was a statement that should have been made in a more emotionally intelligent manner, given the stakeholders he was referring to. And he made that statement in passing when he referred to ship owners as ship owners without ships, because we have an association of ship owners. And it wasn't received, it wasn't taken lightly, because then the argument was that you're the minister, you're in charge of the CVFF, disburse, because the CVFF is designed to enable us build capacity. So it has been a concern that has existed for what? Going to 2 decades. And what you're seeing with regards to having a lot of seafarers without sea time, that vital experience, is what I may call the after effect or the ripple effect of this extended period of not having capacity. So the point here is this: we can now expect, we now have an opportunity to disburse. I think that if the disbursement is robust, we can begin to eat into this backlog of a problem. That is the only way that I see this happening. And a lot of the members, at least quite a number, especially the president then of the Shipowners Association, made it clear that, look, you cannot even talk about blue economy without ships. And he was right. Dr. Mark George Oyun, his argument was very clear. You cannot talk about a maritime sector, let alone a blue economy, without ships. And you cannot talk about ships without your indigenous citizens or your own citizens, indigenous participation. So I believe that the CBFF is a strategic solution that ensures a long-term value as far as giving our cadets sea time and developing indigenous capacity. That is my own view, and I say that as one who has participated, who has served in that space. If we start to disburse, imagine if we were to disburse to 20 companies, let's just say 20 ship owners or 20 indigenous shippers this year. What it means is that given the fact that the banks are now involved, unlike in the past where we had direct access to government, that's the SA, what's it called now, the Ship Acquisition, Ken, what's the full name now of Ship Acquisition and SA something, I've forgotten the full name.
Ship Acquisition and Shipbuilding Fund.
Okay, yes,
SASBS.
SASBS, where the argument at the time was that many people accessed the funds, acquired vessels, or some claimed they acquired vessels. We had a lot of stories. I heard stories during my time in NIMASA of I bought the ship and something happened to it and it's now under water. It sank. All kinds of stories, all kinds of litigations, and what have you. And I think that has been the reason why the CBFS has taken a long time, this long, at least one of the major reasons to disburse. How do we create a system where there is accountability? There were those who obtained the SASBF and paid back. I know at least two of such very serious ship owners. Captain Emmanuel Iyanacho was one of those who acquired and paid back and has spoken very highly of it. So there are people who did that rightly, but then this new era of the CBFF has to be properly managed. So now the banks have a skin in the game, 35% of the amount. So I believe it will attract very serious players. And if it attracts very serious players, we might not see results in the short term. That's why I said it's a very strategic move. If we disburse to 20 ship owners in 2026, we can honestly, realistically expect that we would see 20 vessels, regardless of the capacity, in our waters by the end of 2026 or by first quarter of 2027. Not every vessel needs to be built afresh. We've done our own research. There are vessels that can be bought. There are vessels already in existence, in operation, that still have 10, maybe to 20-year shelf life value that can be bought. So we know these things practically. I may not be a shipper, but at least we know. So if we have those, then we can begin to eat into this challenge. So it's both a concern, no doubt about it, but let's support the government to implement this into reality. And I think if that happens, we will see results. And I'm going to invite Mr. Temiso Omashaye. He's very vast in this and is very passionate about it, to come in and talk about this during our next Code Blue. There are so many people to invite to come in and talk about this. We had invited Libasa to come and talk about this. I believe the reason would be that, not that I'm holding brief, that it was still being worked on. Now that there is something tangible that IMASA has put on ground, they'll be more than happy to come and address us about this issue. If we have to hold a special code blue to that effect, we're going to do it. But I believe that should begin the journey of a long-term solution to this problem. I believe in more long-term solutions. Nobody's going to acquire, nobody's going to take that loan and play games with it, because the banks are going to be part and parcel of the entire process of acquiring the vessel. All right, that's it. There was one other hand. I think the hand has dropped. All right, so if there's no other question to ask, if there's no other point to be raised, with your kind permission, I think this is enough for us to chew on. This is enough for us to reflect on. And please, if there are questions, if there are things you'd like to see and hear, please reach out, and we will factor that into our next Code Blue and continue to move on from there. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. I really appreciate your being part of this session, and we hope to see you next month by God's grace. But if there is an emergency Code Blue, we will call it and we will send the message across to everyone that needs to be here to listen. I'm suspecting there might be one, especially given from our outlook, there is the Lagos dimension to what is happening in Makoko. Is it Makoko or Morocco now? And then there's the CVFF. Rather than wait till February, we might have a session where we bring in two parties to come and address this, and we will reach out, and we will, this particular episode, we will probably advertise it, put it on social media, and advertise it, make it more open, and make sure that the communication is wider, and then as we move on. Thank you very much, everyone, and we truly appreciate your being part of this. So have a good one, and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.